Well, many times verses of the Quran are taken out of context just to give the impression that Islam is asking the Muslims to treat other groups of faith in a negative way. So can you tell us about the teachings of the Quran in the authentic way about the treatment of other groups of faith in the Muslim society?
Right. You know, it's a very misunderstood idea and belief on the part of many non-Muslims, especially when verses from the Quran, as you said, are taken out of context, that the presence of non-Muslims in a predominantly Muslim environment would result in the Muslims killing the people because they are non-Muslim. This is unprecedented in understanding and belief amongst the Muslims. As a matter of fact, the best example of this treatment of non-Muslims when Muslims in a Muslim government, under a Muslim government, is at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, himself. We find that one of the first acts of the Messenger of Allah, when he established the first Islamic state under his leadership in Medina, one of his first acts was to draw up a constitution. And in this constitution, it clearly defined the rights and responsibilities and duties of all of the citizens of Medina. That included Jews, that included people who had no faith or people who worship idols. It included the Christians. It was a very special document by which the Muslim world has been able to draw from this practical example of how non-Muslims are to be treated under the authority of Muslims. Non-Muslims, like in the United States, for an example, which is a nation that the entire world has heralded as a beacon of light for people around the world who are suffering from oppression. But in this country, there has been a very hypocritical history in saying that all citizens are created equal, and saying that in this land all of its citizens will get the same rights. But yet you find that it is very contrary to the actual history of the treatment of African American people and the treatment of many waves of immigrants who have come into this country. So, but what Islam does is to clearly define that no church or no place of worship can be torn down, that people would have the freedom to practice their faith, that they will be allowed to pray or worship in the manner in which they feel that they are attracted to, that they want to do. And so this idea that non-Muslims cannot exist or coexist under Muslim rule is something that historically cannot be borne out, and even in today's time. I'll give you an example. I was in the predominantly Muslim country of Sudan a few years ago, and I was coming into the country shortly after the celebrated time for Christmas. And I was told by many of the leaders of the Sudanese government that had I been there just a few days earlier, I would have thought that I would be in a Christian country, because of how in Sudan, how they express their fellowship and how they express their acceptance of Christians in that country. They had allowed, even in the capital of Khartoum, for the Christians to decorate and to celebrate Christmas in a way that they felt comfortable. Now, of course, this isn't done in all Muslim countries, but I just say this by way of an example, that in Muslim countries who oftentimes have this identity as being very tough and hard and persecuting non-Muslims, that in a country like Sudan, that the reality is very different than what is commonly professed and understood.